Well, good morning, Lionhearts. It's your old pal Jordan the Lion. We're having our first cup of coffee of the day. How are you all doing today? Well, I hope you said great, because I'm doing great. We're gonna start out by taking Jaw out for a little Jaw fun, and then we've been doing a lot of filming location vlogs lately. Today we're gonna go to Valhalla Cemetery, and we're gonna go visit the grave of someone who I knew actually from an animated show when I was a kid, but she had such a big career, and it's kind of crazy for as big of a career as she had, how big her career could have been, because there were a couple of parts that she was wanted for and never got to do. So we'll talk about her today. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. Let's go have some fun with the Joster. Is it safe to say that you're excited, you're getting ready to go out and play? All right, let's roll. How about a little freeform park action today, huh? I decided today, instead of taking him to a dog park, I'm just gonna take him to a regular park with a big giant yard, walk him around, let him run, do whatever he wants. You've been known to be a pretty fair squirrel chaser, haven't you? Speaking of, there's one right there. He saw us coming and darted. There's a few dogs out here, but not a million people, which is nice. See, here's a big chunk of open grass. Have a day, Jaw. Have a fun day. You're a free man. Come on, brother. So who we're gonna go visit today is the woman who played Kate on Petticoat Junction and Betty Rebel. BEA BENADERET. And when we get out there, I'll tell you, like I said, the memorable roles that she almost played and just wasn't able to. He's gonna go over there and meet that dog. Go say hi. Jaw, go say hi. I guess he found a nice piece in this. He found a nice little place in the shade he's been rolling in. There he goes.
Bless you.
Bit of a hot day. You're having fun though, aren't you? Everybody's been commenting on what a great smile you have. Hey, it's your time. You can do whatever you want. If you want to lay here and enjoy the grass, go for it.
I'm tired, but I still want to play.
Good grief. I decided to wear my Eddie Van Halen shoes today. Little tribute. It's not an appropriate tribute to Eddie Van Halen. Just saw some squirrels running across this side of the park, and he loves to chase them, so he never does anything. He never gets them, but he likes to chase them. He just saw one. Okay, I took Jaw home, and we are headed over to North Hollywood, Valhalla Cemetery. This has a really nice fountain right in the dead center of the cemetery I love to take a look at. I'll show you guys today again. Okay, here it is. This blue building right up here on the left. We're looking for a section called Hope. There are a lot of famous people that I've vlogged buried out here. This is the official memorial resting place for Amelia Earhart. Oliver Hardy's buried out here. Gorgeous George, the wrestler. A lot of people. Including the amazing Criswell is not too far from B, as well as Pugsley Addams. From the Addams family. There's that beautiful fountain we'll get out and take a look at. Yeah, I love this fountain. Take a look at this. Isn't that beautiful? So straight ahead is where we entered, and then we came down through here, and we're gonna go around the fountain just to give you an idea of how to find her grave, and then she's on your way out there's a section over here that it looks like she's in called Hope. I saw this statue from the fountain area. I've never looked at it. This is incredible. And someone's recently put some fresh flowers out here. It looks like somebody drew this or painted this and left it right here in the grass, just by the side of the road. I'll leave it there then for this garden. So she's in a wall crypt. Let's go see if we can find her. She's under her second married name, Twombly. Okay, we'll work our way around now. Okay, so I've made it over to the section that we're looking for. This is the remembrance section. We're looking for Hope. So we'll keep walking down here till we find the Hope section. Here's the devotion section. And this one is love. So I assume that it must be over here. Okay, it looks like on the far end of the mausoleums, this one is the Hope section. So she's over here, right around this corner. And here she is, the very first one, actually. There you can see BEA BENADERET Twombly. There you can see we're kind of by the airport. I'm a little confused on the birth date here because it says on here 1908, but online it says 1906. So I'm not sure if she passed away at the age of 60 or 62, but let me tell you Bea's story. See, for some reason here it has, I mean, I guess you'd have to trust the one, right, that is on her final resting place, but Bea was born in New York City and her father was a tobacconist, so he owned smoke shops, and when she was little, he decided to move the family out to San Francisco, which kind of surprising that she would be born and raised in New York City and San Francisco, and then most of the parts that she would be famous for would be kind of small town parts or small town type characters. But she was raised in San Francisco and took an early liking to being in theater, and she went to an all-girls school. So when she got her start being an actress, she got her start playing a hunched over Ebenezer Scrooge as well as other male characters, and through this it taught her the love of learning dialects and accents and taking on character voices. So as she grew up and graduated, she went off to do a little bit of theater for a while, but found her way very quickly in the radio business. And she was doing all kinds of radio. I mean, she had such a great voice. Like I said, she had mastered those dialects, so it didn't take her long before she was the phone operator on the Jack Benny show, and then she ended up winning a role playing Gracie Allen's best friend on the George and Gracie Allen show. George Burns and Gracie Allen, of course. And she was on that show for quite a while. Sometimes at the time, during the 40s and 50s, when she was doing all of these radio shows, she would sometimes be doing up to 4 shows in different places around Hollywood per day, just kind of traveling around all day to make those radio shows. But she ended up getting picked up on a contract basis by Warner Brothers, and she ended up doing a lot of those Warner Brothers female voices that you heard early on, like Granny to Tweety Bird and Witch Hazel the Witch, as well as Mama Bear. And at one time she was actually the #1 female voice actress for the Warner Brothers cartoons. She just never got any screen credit because she didn't have a contract with them for that. She was what you call a contract employee. So Mel Blanc got screen credit, but she was doing a lot of the female voices at that time. Now that's where I know Bea predominantly from, was from her voice acting. I knew her, of course, from all those Warner Brothers, because as I was a kid they would replay all that. But then, of course, she became the voice of Betty Rubble. Now what's interesting is that when Joseph Barbera did the auditions for this, when he had Gene Pyle and Bea in to audition together as Wilma and Betty, they were both so great at it that Joe actually said, well, which one do you want to be? Why don't you guys decide? And Jean said, I want to be Wilma, and so Bea said, okay, that's okay with me, I'll be Betty. And she took this giggle that she had had while she was on the George and Gracie show that she had kind of come up with. Actually, she was on that show. One of the interesting little bits of trivia was that she was the only secondary character on that show that was ever in every episode. So she was so popular that she was nominated for 2 Emmy Awards for that show, and had come up with this very signature giggle, and she brought that over to Betty Rubble. Now, she was so busy because this was the beginning of the 60s, and her life really changed because she was originally on a short-lasting 1-year show, and ironically, her character on the show was named Wilma. And the very next year, she was asked to audition for a new show, The Beverly Hillbillies. Now, that was a Paul Henning production, and Paul knew her from back with George and Gracie. He was a writer there, and so he immediately thought of Bea for Granny Clampett. But when they went in and did the auditions, though both actresses were great, Irene Ryan and Bea, it's reportedly said that Bea actually said in the audition, there's your granny right there, and basically said Irene should have the job. So Irene became known for being Granny Clampett, but Paul didn't forget her. He didn't forget Bea. He actually wrote a part for Bea and made her quite a bit of the series. She was in quite a few of the episodes because she played Jethro's mom. If you remember all those episodes where Jethro's mom was there, that was Bea. Now, she was so good on this show that she was actually working so hard that during this time she was not only on Beverly Hillbillies, but at night, that's when she was recording Betty Rubble for the Flintstones. And they said because of her schedule, sometimes she had to record all of her parts alone, so she didn't get to actually act with anyone, or sometimes she would have to record her parts at night. And if you remember when I went out and interviewed Noel Blanc, the son of Mel Blanc, he said that Mel, I believe it was in 1962, had a horrible car accident where he broke almost every bone in his body and had to be laid up in a cast in his room in the house, and that all the actors from the Flintstones came out. They created a recording studio in Mel's house, and that the actors for the Flintstones would actually do the recording for the show around Mel's bedside. So it's kind of interesting to think that Bea would have been by day on the Beverly Hillbillies, and then by night would be going all over town recording her parts for Betty Rubble. Now, Bea was so good. I mean, like I said, she could do all kinds of accents, and she was so likable, and she was so comedic that Paul Henning had another opportunity from the studios to come up with another show. And they were basically green lighting it. They weren't even going to make him do any kind of pilot to see if they wanted to pick it up. They were just green lighting it. So he decided to do Petticoat Junction. And Petticoat Junction was a star vehicle for Bea. Bea was Kate, and Kate ran this shady, this very shady hotel in Hooterville, and I became a fan of Hooterville from finding out about the spin-off to this, which was Green Acres. And Bea was in, so many seasons of this. However, what happened was, they started the show basically in 1962, but when she went in for a routine checkup for 1963, they found a spot on her lung, and when they went back to recheck for it, they couldn't find it. So she just kind of let it go. And by 1967, apparently, they went in for another checkup and they saw the spot again, and it turned out to be lung cancer. It was a tumor. And so she went under an operation and took a few weeks off of filming the show and had to miss some episodes of Petticoat Junction, but was trying to heal so she could come back. And she spent weeks going through the treatments for this and thought that she was cleared, and came back and tried to resume working on the show. And sadly, the cancer came back and it took her life at a very young age. You can see on here it says she was only 60 years old. Now, her husband Eugene, that's another interesting story because he worked on sets. I believe he was a camera operator or something like that on sets, and They were said to be very much in love, and when Bea passed away, if you look, you'll notice that she passed away in 1968, and Eugene also passed away in 1968. Apparently, just 4 days after Bea died, Eugene suffered a heart attack and also died. Crazy to think of, you know? She almost would have been Granny Clampett, and I mentioned to you that, you know, she almost was someone else. Well, back in her radio days, she did a Green Acres show. It was what they eventually took to create the show Green Acres, but she did a radio show with Gil Gordon, and she had also done a radio show with Lucille Ball. And so when Lucy was going to start the I Love Lucy show, who do you think that she wanted for her Fred and Ethel? It was Gil Gordon and Bea. But unfortunately, Bea was already under contract with the George Burns and Gracie Allen show. Sorry, I got a little distracting. Isn't that kind of crazy to think about? If you remember, just, you know, a few weeks ago, I did a vlog on William Frawley, talking about how William Frawley wasn't the first choice for Fred Mertz, and it was actually Gil Gordon. And so to find out that the original choices for Fred and Ethel were neither of the people that ended up making those characters so iconic. Some of Bea's other notable accomplishments on the radio, other than the George Burns and Gracie Allen show, which she was very popular for, was she was also Eve on The Great Gildersleeve. She was in Fibber McGee and Molly. She was Gloria the Maid in The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. And of course, like I said, she was Iris in My Favorite Husband with Lucille Ball. Rest in peace, Bea. What a great voice. Also, one of the interesting things that Bea should get a little acknowledgement for is that while they were casting Petticoat Junction, it was Bea's idea, because her son was in an acting class with Paul Henning's daughter, to get Paul's daughter to audition to be one of her 3 daughters, and she got the part. All right, my friends, we've made it home. Jaw is chilling in his bed, and I got some mail from a friend of mine who said, I gotta mail you something, only you will appreciate this. So let's pop it open. I mean, I think I know it's obviously a record of some sort, but who, we shall see. All right, take a look at what it is. A signed Waylon Jennings record. How cool is that? Well, look who came over to visit. Amy, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm excellent. So, when you came over, I had gotten a little surprise from Lisa Kulik. Want to see what you thought of these. She made some blinged out, glittered pictures of me.
Cool.
Here's one of them. You can see she really went the full 9. And then this one she did of kind of my intro. Really elaborate. Look at that. I'm trying to get the different look of it without getting my reflection or the camera reflection, but it looks pretty cool. Look at Jaw. All right, my friends, we're gonna call it a day. I wanna thank Colin and Galili Berryhill, Julie, Kimball Pratt, Atif Samadi, Madeline Burns, Sam Stafford, and Sally Hoyt for becoming my newest Patreons. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Have a great night, and goodbye.